Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of NASCAR Chase for the Cup 2005. It is the Gold's Pumps 200 at the Nazareth Speedway as we are set for race number 3 of 31 of this NASCAR Busch Grand National Series custom schedule season event. Like, share, and subscribe for more daily NASCAR content as we're about to get into tonight's full race live stream, live commentary event. This one's starting on a little bit of an hour delay. It was originally scheduled for 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, but I had some very important things to do when I got home regarding this YouTube channel, and got some exciting news. I got contacted while I was at work earlier today, just before my last break, and I didn't know many details at the time. I had to message and email that person slash whatever company back email wise, and essentially it is to, I don't know how to put this into words exactly. It's to showcase, I guess, the stream that we had from the Busch Clash earlier this weekend on Fox Sports 1's mini documentary, 100,000 cameras. They're doing one on the Busch Clash from this last weekend, just like they did with Darlington on the first race back in 2020 when NASCAR returned to action without fans at Darlington. They had that 100,000 cameras documentary. Well, they're doing one on the Busch Clash. I don't know all the details of it exactly, but I do know that they reached out to me wanting to use some of my content on the channel, so I was more than willing to allow them to do that, to showcase it on national television. So I am greatly appreciative of that, and greatly appreciative of you guys for giving me the opportunity and giving me this spotlight to be able to have opportunities to do stuff like that, and hopefully much more down the road. I hope this is just the small, this is definitely the YouTube channel itself is the first foot in the door, but the first major scene of exposure will be coming here in just over a week. I believe the airtime is supposed to be, the first airtime is supposed to be Thursday night, February 17th at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I believe it will be on Fox Sports 1, and it will air after the Daytona dual races. So I will not actually be able to watch it live when it happens because I will be at Daytona for the duels. There's no way I'm going to get to my hotel room by 10 o'clock if the races end at like 9:30, 10 o'clock. So I will not be able to watch it. I will have to record it and try to catch it on my phone or something when I get back to the hotel room. I'll find a way to be able to see that, but I'm excited to see what it turns out to be. Even if it's only like a 5-second cameo, that's still awesome, honestly, because I never would have thought. For one, I didn't even know they were doing anything like that, to be completely honest. I haven't watched NASCAR Race Hub in a really long time, outside of on Sunday before the heat races. I guess that was NASCAR Race Day. I don't even think that was Race Hub, but I think it was Race Day. But anyway, so I had no clue they were even, going on, and I got contacted email first, and I thought it was like a fake email at first. I was like, no, that's not it, whatever. And then I got a double down message on my Instagram too. I'm like, hang on, let me check into this. As soon as I emailed the person back, and then I got a email with all the paperwork I had to do to release my content to them so they can use it, not use it, and then me sue them or whatever for using my content when I said I can't. So now, like, they have full use of that live stream, and then also the highlight video I posted yesterday on the channel. So I gave them usage for both of those videos. So again, greatly appreciated from you guys, but that is why I'm an hour late to the stream here tonight. That actually kind of puts me back because I was supposed to work out when I got done with this, and now I'm an hour behind schedule. So I'll probably be up a little bit later tonight, even though I have to work tomorrow, but I think it'll all be worth it in the end. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Let's get this race underway. No qualifying, no practice at Nazareth Speedway. Greg Biffle will be starting from the back. He has won the first 2 Busch Series races this season. Let's see if he can go 3 for 3. Green flag is in the air, and we're underway as Dwayne Borland, the fantasy rookie driver in the 135, will lead the field to the green flag. Oh boy, trying to look at the chat there about messed up in turn 2. We're giving Racing Hub, Billy Kramer, Tyler Burback, welcome to the stream, guys. Big checkup in turn 4 now. This pretty much 5-turn, oddly shaped oval, no longer actually running any sort of races. It is abandoned at the moment. Used to run NASCAR Busch and Truck Series races, and of course right now we're seeing this Busch Series event at Nazareth, but Biffle having to come from the back. This is going to be difficult. A lot of the Cup Series regulars you saw in the first couple races of the year are mostly not in this one, excluding our driver, Greg Biffle. Biffle made a pass on the outside in turn 4 to no longer be in last. One car hard into the outside wall behind him. That car he passed the corner before on the outside. Joshua Rumsey, welcome to the stream. I am having a great Tuesday. Hopefully you are too, Joshua. Yeah, they would probably need some sort of reconstruction at Nazareth, I would have to assume, with the track being vacant since 2004, which is literally when this game takes place. This was the last year it was actually even running and operating. Well, trying to make some moves. He nearly takes out Daryl Bradford in the 152. He got back in the gas a little too soon on the inside in turn 1. He slid into his left rear corner panel. We continue to stay green 5 laps in. This is a 200-lap race. Intermediate that kind of races like a short track. How flat it is. A lot of heavy braking corners around this racetrack. So that's only, by the way, with that announcement at the very beginning of tonight's stream, that only adds to the content on the channel when it comes to, well, on the channel and outside of the channel when it comes to speed weeks. We've been hyping it up here for a few weeks on the channel with the road to Daytona, and we're going to continue to hype it here over the next week to week and a half. Biffle's up to 36th. We'll just have to wait and see how accurate that patch will end up being, though. No matter what patches they make from here on out, our final season's our final season with that game. I'm not giving it any more chances. We still have 31 more races left, so we'll drag that on for at least a few more months. Biffle just gets to the inside of Billy Parker now for position as well. For those of you that missed last night's Budweiser Shootout for the NASCAR Cup Series side of things on our custom schedule season there with our Speed Week coverage, that was an insane finish to the race, to say the least. The final 20 laps were absolutely wild, but the final lap was extremely nuts. And probably the most chaotic finish I think we've ever had in this game, to say the least. And maybe ever when it comes to the NASCAR video games on this channel. Biffle's made contact trying to get through the field a couple times. He's dealing with a little bit of a tight race car. That time he just got crowded by whoever was on the outside of him in turn 4. Biffle got really tight in turn 1 again, though. Luckily he was clear of the car that was on his outside the corner before. 3 wide off the exit of turn 2. 4 wide now down the back stretch, and they'll file back down to 3 wide as they enter into turn 4. Biffle flatlines it. Underneath Ashton Lewis in the 46, barely keeps it off the 46 car of Lewis. Gasses up and squeezes by in turn 1. Yeah, I will say the racing itself I don't think would have been too different no matter what car you put out on that small of a racetrack. The nice thing with the next-gen car is that it was able to endure as much contact with other cars as it did, because with the Gen 6 car, it just would have been cutting tires left and right with as much contact as it made. So that would have been the difficult thing, to be able to run a track like that with the Gen 6 car. But with this generation, the next-gen car, that definitely, I don't think we saw a single flat tire the entire night, to be completely honest. With as much contact as there was all the way throughout the night, that's pretty impressive. NASCAR official, welcome to the stream. You're new and you're here. Well, welcome. With open arms. Reminds me to say like, share, and subscribe for more daily NASCAR content. Live commentary, live streams, and much more right here on the channel. So Biffle's up to 24th. It is currently lap 15 of 200. From the last place starting position. He's made contact with a few cars trying to get through the field, but again, this is an intermediate that races like a short track. It's very, very flat. Biffle's been pretty tight for the most part on entry. The exit to the corner maybe a bit on the loose side. 3 wide off the exit of turn 4. Down into turn 1. He's just going to back out, let the cars that were on the outside of him go. Still makes contact with the 128. NASCAR lover 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, okay. I think I remember the NASCAR lover part. I never remember the numbers with a lot of your guys' channels, because we get a lot of them with numbers, and I have to remember enough numbers throughout the course of a day, whether it's channel related or not, as it is. So that becomes a little difficult. But I do remember the NASCAR lover. Welcome back, and welcome with your new channel. Appreciate you coming back. Yeah, Haley had a great performance this last weekend. It'll be fun to watch. I mean, he'll be a rookie this season. He competed full-time last year, but I think this is technically his rookie season only because he didn't run for points last year. I could be wrong on that, but... And he ran part-time in 2019 when he had that win with Spire as well. But I'm certain that it still counts as his rookie season, though, this year. Correct me if I'm wrong down in the chat. Both colleague cars were in the top 10 all main event long. Even Allmendinger, who started towards the back because he had to run in his LCQ, made it in through the first LCQ race. Got into pretty much 10th place pretty quickly and sat 8th to 10th the whole night. I don't know where he finished. I don't know. I think he still finished top 10. Travis Glant, welcome to the stream. Big bounce off the curb from Biffle. Barely kept it off the 112 to his outside. Then he has the 12 of Tim Fedewa right in front of him into turn 1. Still caution-free, 21 laps in. We've had an interesting start to the season on the Busch Series side. At Daytona, we had 5 cautions in the season opener, but at Bristol, we only had 1. Be interesting to see if we get another one here in this race. That 1 caution came out in the first 100 laps as well. So over 150 lap green flag run to the end of that Bristol day race last week. Yeah, we still have a lot of snow on the ground where I'm at. I got up to 32 2 days ago. But outside of that, it's been in the teens or 20s, low 20s for highs. for pretty much the better half of a month. Oh, I'd probably say since the new year, really. I think we might have had, no, that day before it snowed, that's right. Not the day it snowed, but the day before it snowed, it got up to like 43. Outside of those 2 days, I can't remember a day in the calendar year that it's been above 30, except for those two. All Xfinity wins are at super speedways. I can definitely see him going out there contending for wins on the super speedways. Colleague in general, they were so good as a team. Even if Haley wasn't winning, Allmendinger was up there. Jeb Burton even won a race last year for Colleague. Chastain was really good when he drove the 10 car at Colleague on the super speedways. Like, as a team, they were all up there at the front. It was really DEI-like from the early 2000s, where you had 2 to 3 of their cars just dominating the race, and up there at the end, it could at least in contention at the very least, if not leading 1-2, 1-2-3. They could do that in the Cup Series. That would be even more impressive, especially as new as they are to the Cup Series. They're still relatively new to the Xfinity Series. Their success came a lot quicker than what most teams would. 14 people watching right now. 5 likes. Smash that like button. Smash it again to make sure you hit it. And then if you did hit it twice, then hit it a 3rd time, so that way you know for a fact that it actually saved your like. Because if you hit it twice, then it'll like it, but then unlike it. So if you hit it more than once, hit it 3 times. Essentially, hit that like button. See if we can get that up to... Let's put the goal at 20 tonight. The Busch Series races aren't as long. I usually kind of top off at about 15. The Cup races, we've been having 20 to 25 almost every Cup race. So I greatly appreciate you guys for getting more popular and more familiarized with that like button here over the last few weeks on the channel. Florida not doing bad temp-wise. I know, I can't wait to go down there for Daytona next week. Have some warm weather. And then I get to go to California the week after that at Auto Club. So I get 2 weeks in a row of nice weather to break out of this teen single-digit 20-degree temperature run we've been on for over a month here where I live. Northwest Ohio. Biffle making a pass on Casey Atwood. He's been working on Tim Fedewa for a little while now. Finally gets to the inside of him. Fedewa's making some passes. Biffle's kind of having to follow him in line, but now he trapped Fedewa behind the 103 car. And if Biffle can get around the next car in front of him, that would move him in the top 10 for the first time tonight. He's not flying through the field. He is getting through relatively quick considering it's still the first fuel run of the race. Not sure if this is going to be a 1 or a 2 stopper yet. Only 3.5 seconds off the race lead. Couldn't win the exhibition last night in the Cup Series, but as far as the actual points races go in both the Busch and the Cup Series, he's 2 for 2 on both sides. Trying to go 3 for 3 tonight in this Busch race. Makes contact with the 131, really chopped off the corner entry to turn 3. But he was able to make the pass. Contact into turn 4, a little bump and run. 83 car getting moved out of the way. Not sure who got underneath him and got into that left rear corner panel. Biffle to 9th. Making another pass in turn 1. Nice to see another Buckeye NASCAR guy. Yeah, for sure. I don't plan on living here forever, that's for sure, but I will say, I don't think it's as bad as people say. It sucks in the wintertime, but You know, when you can actually go out and do stuff, there is quite a few things to do in general area. I mean, I'd pretty much have 5 major cities, 6 major cities within 4 hours of me. You got Chicago, Indianapolis 4 hours away, Cleveland's an hour and a half away, Detroit's less than an hour and a half away, Columbus is 2 hours away, Cincinnati's 3 hours away. You got one of the best amusement parks in the world, Cedar Point, Sandusky, Ohio. That's like 50 minutes from where I live. Toledo, I guess, as well, is only... I mean, that's not like as big as those other cities I stated, but that's only like a half hour from where I live. So there is definitely an abundance of things to do when you can actually drive on the streets because it's not covered in snow. That's pretty much the only issue you run into in the wintertime. You're kind of snowed or kind of hunkered down because of the cold, but when it does warm up those 5 to 6 months out of the year, then it's nice. I've only been to Columbus a few times, actually. Most of that's been within the last couple of years, driving through it to go to a bunch of these racetracks, NASCAR-wise. I speak in third person because I'm doing realistic commentary for the races. That's why I've always spoken third person with the commentary. When I'm talking to you guys, I'm talking in first person, but when I'm commentating the race, it's always third person because I like to think that I'm not actually in the race. I didn't always do that. I started doing that a little over a year ago. I probably had a couple hundred subscribers when I decided to stop doing it and start talking in third person. But then I had to stay committed to it. Well, that was a combination of Biffle moving up a little too soon and the car behind him moving down a bit too soon. They nearly wrecked each other for 7th place. Biffle's still sitting at 3.7 seconds off the race lead. Six wins for Castle for Coley. That'd be insane if he does that. I know you were joking, but it'd be cool to see him win a couple. I think he can go out there and win 2-3 races. That's kind of his ceiling, though. At least this season. Wow, Biffle got really loose off turn 2, and as many times as he overcorrected it down the backstretch, he somehow kept it off the outside wall and kept it out of the grass on the inside. Luckily, he had no cars that were alongside of him because that probably would have ended in an accident. I haven't seen a car wiggle that much in a long time. Ashton G, welcome to the stream. 4 seconds off the lead, though, for the Biff. Trying to make his way up there. Lap 42 this time by. He does have 2 drivers for position in 5th and 6th right in front of him. '83 of Manny Brown. Not sure who's in front of Brown. Brown with a block down the backstretch. Biffle with the undercut off the exit of turn 4. Now he's on the inside of Manny Brown. How much room will Brown give him into turn 1? Biffle could not make the pass. Dive bombs it into turn 2, and again Brown able to stay in front. Oh man, that was a big one. Car blowing up on the inside of the racetrack, not for position, was one of the lap cars. Saw somebody else blow an engine just a couple laps ago as well. They were able to make it to the pit lane also unscathed, so we continue to stay green. Still no caution. We have 4 caution-free races in the Truck Series season. Actually 5, because the season finale of Daytona went caution-free also. So we have 5 Truck Series races that went caution-free. None in the Busch or Cup Series, at least through the first 2 races. Biffle trying the outside in turn 4. Gets the undercut off the exit of the corner. Finally to the inside of Manny Brown. He was able to get here a couple laps ago, but he couldn't make the pass in turn 1. This time, side drafts the 83 as much as he could. Looks like he'll make the clean pass in turn 2. Streaming during... No, I will not be able to stream at all when I'm at Daytona. I can guarantee that my Wi-Fi connection would not be good enough to be able to do that. And I'm going to be way too busy because Thursday night, duel, Friday night, truck race. The only potential night I'd have a chance would be Saturday night, depending on what time the ARCA and Xfinity races get done. That'd be the only chance, because Wednesday, I'm driving 10 of the hours, and then I'm finishing the drive up in the morning, so I know for a fact I'm not going to be up late on Wednesday. I'll probably watch qualifying and then go to bed as soon as it's done. It'll probably start at like 7 or 8. Last for about an hour. But I will have the highlight videos from each race taking up the days that I'm not streaming, so there will be content uploaded on the channel. I may have a premiere potentially Wednesday night if I can get that recorded this weekend. It'll be tough, but I'll try to record something. Then I'll be in the chat for it, maybe during 500 qualifying, but that would be about it. No actual live stream from Wednesday on. I will be home Monday and Tuesday though, so Tuesday I still have to work, but I'll be home and stream before I finish packing everything. Probably 6 o'clock like usual. Biffle to the inside of another driver. Not sure who this is. Into turn 1, he just keeps getting pinched off. Whoever's on the outside of Greg Biffle, it doesn't matter who it tends to be. Whoever's on the outside when he's side by side on the front stretch, he gets pinched quite a bit. And he's not able to run deep into that corner because of how sharp of an angle it is, as well as how flat every corner is around this track. It was Russell Hughes, by the way, the 66, I believe is his number. Lap 50, quarter of a tank of gas left for Biffle. He is up inside the top 5 for the first time in the race, 4.2 seconds off the lead. Dwayne Borland has led every lap of this race so far, and that's kind of surprising considering that he is a generated driver, a fantasy driver, one of the rookies. But with really Biffle the only Cup Series regular in the field today, because Biffle's running full-time in the Busch Series season, no other Cup Series regulars running full-time, that opens the door up for a guy like Borland to have an opportunity at a race today at Nashville where Biffle is the only Cup Series regular. Missed the Milwaukee Mile. That was a great track. I mean, it was basically the same thing as New Hampshire, though, and I think that's why it's not on the schedule anymore. And New Hampshire is one of pretty much the only track in, like, the Northeast, like, New England area. It's the only track in the New England area, because Dover and Watkins Glen are south of it, so it's the only track in the New England area versus taking out Milwaukee. Especially at the time, there were still other tracks in the Midwest. Indianapolis, Chicagoland at the time, Michigan. So there were other tracks in that region. Now we have Road America. Iowa was on the schedule, at least for the Xfinity and trucks for a while. It's kind of sad that a lot of these Midwest tracks are going away. Obviously, I know I'm from the Midwest, but there's a lot of great racing fans up here. And honestly, you look at how many people go to the Indy 500 every year. You look at the draw that Road America had this season for the Cup Series race, having over 100,000 people in attendance. Like, there are a lot of great racing fans in the Midwest, and they are willing to show up to races. So it's weird to me. Michigan's always got a great turnout. Like, Michigan doesn't, like, sell out all the time, but they always have a huge number of fans there. For as big as that track is, they've been one of the few tracks that haven't actually reduced any of their front stretch grandstand seating since the early 2000s. So it mind boggles me that, you know, they're drawing in the fans, but they're getting, those are the tracks that are getting axed. Kentucky, I guess it's kind of considered in the South. And even though it wasn't a great racetrack, they were drawing in fans. I mean, you go back and look at that 2019 race, it was packed. I know when I was there in 2018, it was packed. I think a lot of that had to do with it being a Saturday night, but sure, they had a rocky beginning in the Cup Series, and the races themselves weren't that great, but they're drawing in the fans. I feel like if a track is drawing in the fans, especially when you look at tracks that have been struggling to draw in fans like Texas or Atlanta last year. Atlanta's going through some changes, so we'll see about this year, but you know, that even Vegas in the fall looked pretty sparse too. I've always been one for saying that a lot of these tracks that have 2 dates shouldn't have 2 dates. They should race at each track once. At worst case scenario, if they were to race at another track more than once, change the length in both races, 1 race a day race and 1 race a night race. So that goes for Michigan too. Michigan had 2 dates for a while, only like 8 weeks apart from each other. They did not need that. They need 1 race is fine for Michigan. I think that did great things for the attendance last year. Granted, the attendance was usually always pretty good, but last year, I mean, it was pretty packed there. I was there in person. It was as packed of a Michigan grandstand as I've seen since 2015, but that was when Gordon and Stewart and Earnhardt Jr. and Johnson were all still racing, so. Most packed the grandstands have been there in 6 years. Atlanta doesn't need 2 dates. Texas most certainly doesn't need 2 dates. Vegas doesn't need 2 dates. I mean, you're looking at it, and it hurts their... Since they added 2 dates onto the schedule for any of those racetracks, really, the attendance is slowly going down. Because fans, you know, even if the tickets are a lot cheaper compared to other sports, which I do agree that they are, far more cheaper, more bang for your buck. You can bring your own drinks, you can bring your own food in. You can't do that with other sporting events, really. So, you know, when you Kansas, yes, Kansas is another one. I mean, I even say the same thing though for Martinsville, and Richmond is another one that probably should only have 1 date. Like Martinsville, everybody loves Martinsville. I love Martinsville, but I think it should only get 1 date. I like what they did with Bristol in the sense that at least they made 1 a dirt race and 1 a concrete race. I think that does verify. I mean, that's basically 2 different tracks. It's at the same facility, but it's pretty much 2 different racetracks. So, you know, if you're doing something like that, or like the Roval and the Coke 600, okay, there you go. You got an oval race, you got a road course race. You know, those are reasons to go to a track more than once in a year, but not to run 2 Kansas day races that are the same exact length, 267 laps and 400 miles in both races, just doesn't make any sense to me. It doesn't make any sense. And one was a night race for a while until last year, then they made it a day race. I'm not sure why. I'm sure TV is the only reason why. It's like they're both at the same time, they're the same length, on the same track. Like, it's the same race. Same package. I don't understand. Alright, Greg Biffle will pit this time by. We've seen a lot of green flag pit stops over the last few laps. Biffle's been leading the last few laps of his own. So he does have 5 bonus points. But now he'll pit 4 tires and fuel for the Biff. Still caution free on lap 64. Yeah, Phoenix has 2 races. That's another one. Darlington has 2, but one's at nighttime. That's 500, and then one's in the day, that's 400. 2 different lengths and day, night. That would be perfect for having 2 racetracks. Well, perfect if you're going to have the same configuration. Perfect would be like how the Roval and, you know, Oval are, or Dirt Bristol and regular Bristol. Like, that's the perfect scenario. I like what they did with Martinsville. At least they shortened the length up of the 1 race. One's a night race, one's a day race. I'm not complaining. I applaud whoever's decision that made that decision, whether it was Fox or NASCAR, whoever made that decision to shorten the Martinsville race up, that's exactly what I want. Variations if you're going to go to the same track more than once. They did that. They shortened it. It was a night race a couple years ago. It's still a night race. And Then you have your 500-mile day race later in the year. Christopher Hogan, welcome to the stream. So Greg Biffle actually gained 1 spot in the middle of his green flag pit stop. So not only cycles from 5th to 4th, but he's now only 1 second off the race lead versus 4.3 seconds off the lead. And he was the last car in the lead lap to pit as well. So a very fast stop for the 60 team. And that has put them in contention to potentially lead their first laps of the race outright, not just because of the green flag pit stops. Ron Hornaday in the 2. He's going to be a championship contender all season long. Bobby Hamilton Jr. cycled to the lead. So he's the new leader after the pit stop cycled through. Dwayne Borland led every lap leading up to his pit stop a handful of laps ago. Talladega, I get why fans, it's one of the most action-packed racetracks. And I was like, Bristol's my favorite track. I love 2 500-lap Bristol concrete races. But I do understand the variation between the two, you know, and I'm willing that for my own word on other tracks that I should be able to accommodate that for my favorite tracks as well. And, you know, Talladega's up there, especially the tracks I've been to in person. That's the 2 tracks I've been to in person, Bristol, Talladega, top 2. Martinsville's probably 3rd. Watkins Glen's got to be up there in the top 5. And, venue-wise, I'd probably say Indianapolis. I haven't been to the 500, the Indy 500 yet. Otherwise, it probably would be for sure top 5, but you can definitely feel the historicness of it, though, as a racing fan. Just being there. I haven't been to Daytona. That obviously, my first trip to Daytona is next week. That'll probably just skyrocket to number 1, I'm sure, but Ron Hornaday pinched off Greg Biffle that time into turn 1. Biffle's willing to accommodate and give enough room to the car in front of him that's pinching him off, mainly because it's only lap 7 and he's trying to keep his car clean. Pretty big run to the back of Hornaday into turn 1. Hornaday and Biffle are losing the top 2 a little bit, and I think Biffle's just getting held up by the 2 car. The Indy 500 or the Daytona 500? I would personally make the second Talladega race the 500-miler only because it's the playoff race, and make the regular season race the 400-miler. At least Daytona, even Daytona, that they race at twice. One's a night race, one's a day race. One's shorter in length than the other. Like, even Daytona gets it right. I get Talladega doesn't have lights, so that's why you definitely need to make one race shorter than the other. Because the track conditions will change. I know super speedways and the current downforce package that they had in recent years at least, it doesn't really make much of a difference, but as the surface gets older, it becomes more like the old Daytona surface we saw in the early to mid-2000s as well as Talladega, and it gets bumpier, and the cars are a lot harder to handle on those tracks as time goes on. Definitely got to make it different. Adds even more into wanting to make it different. Hey, I'll be at that Mid-Ohio race as well. I'll be going to the IndyCar and the truck race at Mid-Ohio this season. They're all back-to-back weekends, too. I only live, like, less than an hour and a half away from the track, so that and Michigan are my 2 home tracks. Indy 500. Yeah, I want to go this year. I'm planning on it as of right now. I have not got my tickets yet, and I need to get on that. I bought my 500 tickets back in August, and good thing I did because my dad was looking at tickets a few months ago before they sold out. There wasn't much left. And I tried to tell him back in August, I was like, I need to get mine within the next few weeks so that way I know I can get the seat I want to sit in and not just kind of get stuck wherever. Like, if I was going to want a good seat, I had to get on it. And so my dad is going, but we're not even sitting in the same section. He's a lot closer to the catch fence than what I am. I'm in the upper level, and he's on the lower level. But I didn't want to wait for him. He didn't buy his tickets until like 2 months ago. Like a month before they sold out. He went on there. There was like 3 seats a section left, and they were all sporadic. It was almost like that when I got it. There were more than 3 in a section, but there was probably like a few in a row, but they were kind of sporadic. So like, it's going to be tough to get 2 seats together. He wasn't sure if he wanted to even go at the time. I knew I was going, so. I passed on it 3 years in a row, and I said I'm done passing on it now. Every time the 500 rolls around the last 3 years, I'd watch it on TV. I'm like, man, I could have been there, and I just didn't go. I didn't go. And then last year I didn't go because it wasn't 100% capacity. That's the only reason I didn't go last year. I wanted it to be the full experience. And now that it's wide open again, and now it's sold out, this is exactly what I asked for, and I'll be getting it. For someone that lives on the east, I agree with you on the early start times. I'm sure if I lived out west, I would appreciate the later start times, but I don't live out west, so sorry. Western Pacific Time NASCAR fans. Lap car right in front of Ron Hornaday. Hornaday struggling to get around, and this might be the opportunity for Biffle to finally get around the 2 car. Just gets underneath him, and he is able to squeeze the 2 car behind the 152. Biffle is now up to 3rd. He was behind Hornaday for about 15 laps, 16 to be exact. He pitted at lap 63, came out at lap 64. It's lap 80, and he finally got around Hornaday despite being behind him after coming out of the pit lane. Now we'll see if he's got the speed to run down the top 2. By the Rock. It's an interesting one. I guess there's not much for sale. You're not going to buy NASCAR out, I'll tell you that much. So there goes all the ISC tracks. The Smith family and Bruton Smith's got a ton of money, so you're probably not going to buy them out. They're the ones buying other people out. That takes up almost every other track on the schedule. You pretty much have to buy a track that's not running. So that's a good pick. Bobby Hamilton's still holding off Dwayne Borland. This is definitely a difficult track to pass considering that Biffle's only led a few laps, but it was because he stayed out longer in that first fuel run than anybody else. Still caution-free. I wonder if we'll see our first caution-free Busch race of the season. You would think as difficult as this racetrack is that we'll see something happen. We're still not quite halfway home. Yeah, that's pretty good for ticket prices. Daytona 500, definitely the most expensive ticket I bought by far. And I've sat in some of the better seats at other tracks for like half the price. But this is still far cheaper than like any playoff football game, I'll tell you that much. I mean, it's barely more than what I paid for the Ohio State-Michigan game like 4 years ago. Michigan was unranked. They weren't even ranked when I went to see them play. But because that game is so historic that it was a couple $100 for my ticket. And I sat in the corner of the end zone, too. I was pretty close to the field. It was good seats, but honestly, there's not really a bad seat in that place. To be completely honest. Craig Franklin, welcome to the stream. Yeah, SMI did buy Dover. I think I actually welcomed you to the stream earlier. Now that I think about it, I don't know. Maybe I did. Maybe I didn't. Oh, Borland almost gets into the 25 of Hamilton, and he's finally to his inside. And as they run side by side, that might actually clear up enough room for Biffle to be able to make the pass on Hamilton. Hamilton squeezes Biffle. Contact into turn 4 as he tried to throw a block, but Biffle is going to make the pass as he barely got underneath him in time, and Hamilton definitely tried to pinch him off. Hamilton a bit wide in turn 1. Borland struggling with the lap car. Biffle to the inside in turn 2. What a window of opportunity, not only to make the pass for second one lap, but the very next lap to make the pass on Dwayne Borland for the race lead. And for the second time today, Greg Biffle leads at Nazareth. And for the first time that isn't in the middle of green flag pit stops, he leads at Nazareth. Borland holds on to second as he blocks Hamilton into turn 2. I'd love to start a streak of going to the Daytona 500 every year. I kind of been doing that with at least one Talladega race the last few years. Like this year will be my 3rd year in a row going to Daytona. Outside of Michigan, which is my home track, excluding 2021 or 2020 because they raced without fans at Michigan for both races. I've gone to both races in 2018, both races 2019, one race in 2015, and then 2021. Last year I went to Michigan, the lone date. I've seen 6 races at Michigan. I didn't get to go to NASCAR races when I was younger, though. I went that one time in 2015 for my birthday. My grandpa took me when I turned 16, and that was my first NASCAR race I ever went to. And I wasn't able to go to another one again until I was out of high school and drove myself up there. And ever since then, I've been driving myself to pretty much every other track that I've gone to. So the only tracks I haven't driven myself is if I finally talk like one of my parents to go, and then or my dad to go, for instance, or my family to go, then they drive. But Bobby Hamilton, by the way, that last, or I guess it was this lap in turn 1, overdrove the corner, had to give up second place, hitting the outside wall, giving Dwayne Borland second place again. Greg Biffle getting through the lap traffic pretty well, for the most part. Really, outside of Ron Hornaday since his pit stop, that was the only car he struggled to pass. Be cool, Emmerhead radio, bro. Hey. The dream is to one day commentate real races down the road in NASCARs. We'll see. I haven't done as much commentating tonight. This has been a pretty good race so far. About halfway home. You guys have had a lot of interesting things to talk about down in the chat. Not that you don't have interesting things to commentate or to talk about. I usually try to do a better job of mediating the two of them, and tonight I'm not. I feel like I'm barely commentating. So sorry for that. I try to commentate as much as I can, as well as answer questions. 2 laps ago was Biffle's fastest lap of the race. It was a 27.462. That last lap was a 27.501. And I think a lot of that has to do with the clean air that he's had in front of him. Again, this is really the first time he's led outside of just staying out of the pits longer than everybody else. Still at least one more pit stop. Biffle pit at lap 63, so it's going to be very, very close on whether or not he can make it on one more, or if it'll be a 2-stopper to the end from where we're at right now. He just hit halfway on fuel, down the back straightaway at lap 96. Quite a bit of contact with the lap cars into turn 1. We still haven't seen a caution. We get a yellow, that's going to help the chances of being able to make it on 2 stops. Michael Turner, welcome to the stream. Yep, Nazareth, Pennsylvania. All 3, 3 Darlington races, gotcha. Yeah, and I've been to Bristol twice now because I went to the All-Stars 2020. But outside of that, those are the only tracks I've been to multiple times. I guess you could technically say I've been to Charlotte twice, but I went to the Roval in 2019 and then the Coke 600 this year. They're not the same track. That's why I wanted to make sure I went to both at some point. So you can't say that's the same track. Same thing with Indy. I went to the Brickyard 400 2018. I went back for the road course this year. 2 different tracks. So I wanted to make sure I went to one race in each. That's why I'm going to Auto Club this year, because it's the last race on the 2-mile oval. When it becomes a short track, I'll definitely plan on going back out there again. But my last chance to see... It's not just a reconfiguration. I mean, it's literally going to be a brand new racetrack. Same thing with Atlanta. Now it's basically a super speedway. That's why I'm going back. It's not a traditional intermediate track anymore. So 11 laps short to the end of the race by Michael Turner's calculations. We'll be halfway home this time by 100 laps down, 100 laps remain. Yeah, so if Biffle takes it, ideally the plan is to take it to lap 126. And yes, you're right, he would be about 11 laps short. Which would mean he'd really need 4 cautions to be able to make it on fuel to the end of the race. We could see a caution in a weird spot where they could potentially pit under the caution flag for pit stop number 3 and make it. We haven't even seen one caution yet, though, so we'll have to obviously pump the brakes on that until we see otherwise. And although Biffle's had the lead for a little bit now, he's not really pulling away. Contact with the lap car of Cody Holdoff of turn 4. And now in turn 1 as well. And now in turn 2. Holt just costed Biffle the lead. Nearly. I think he did. Biffle tried to block Dwayne Borland, but he couldn't really do it. He went to throw the block, and when he was on his way down, he realized Borland was still there. Biffle finally clears Holt, but now he's lost the lead. So Holt kind of pinched Biffle the first 2 times, and then in turn 2, Biffle overran the corner into Holt. Holt put him in that tough spot to begin with. And we mentioned it's so hard to pass here. That was a big time error for Greg Biffle, whether it was his fault or not. He's going to get back to the inside of Borland. Borland just door checks him at the start-finish line, and he'll hold on to the lead. Biffle about overdrove turn 1, and now Hamilton's on the attack in 3rd. Yeah, Kevin Harvick's not going to be the dominator of Atlanta anymore, you're right. Well, I think the bottom's still going to be the preferred lane. I just don't think the speeds are going to be high enough to be able to run super speedway like we would see at Daytona and Talladega. I think because they're going to have the package identical, it'll slow the speeds down enough to where they will be pack racing, but it's going to be a lot harder to pass on the outside. And the bottom's going to be the way to go. Especially with how narrow the track's going to be as well. Narrowing it on top of the new repave, and the fact that it's a full mile shorter than Daytona and Talladega, it's just, there's no way. I'd be shocked. I'd be shocked if if it looks identical to, like, you could say it's a mini Daytona Talladega, and that's fine, but to actually have it look like Daytona or Talladega racing, 3-4 wide, deep through the field, I just don't see that happening at Atlanta. Maybe double wide consistently, and you might see 3 wide from time to time, but not 3 wide all the way through the field. There'll be somebody like having to run and making it 3 wide for an instant. Somebody may go with him, but I don't think a full line's going to go. I just don't think there's going to be that much room on the track, especially if they keep the grass on the front stretch the way it is now, which I'm not sure if they're doing or not. If they keep the grass down there, that's got to make it even more narrow on the front stretch. And there's no banking as it is on the front stretch too, so I just don't see how it would work. I just, like in my head, it just doesn't make any sense. So Dwayne Borland pit from the lead at lap 108, that last lap. That gave Greg Biffle the race lead. Now Bobby Hamilton is in the pits, who was in third when the pit stop started, and he was right behind Greg Biffle, pits at lap 109. So Biffle could go to lap 126. He'll be able to lead about another 16 to 17 laps now. It's quite a ways further he's going on fuel compared to everybody else. They're kind of splitting it more into an even 3-stop race versus Greg Biffle kind of keeping it at 2. Remember, these Busch Series races, only 4 times we can pit for tires. There is a tire limit. Now at Daytona, we only had to pit 3 times. Knew we weren't going to run into that issue, especially on a super speedway, even with the bumpier surface. Bristol, we only had to pit once because of it being a half-mile short track, and it was only a 250-lap race. Here at Nazareth, it's a 3-stop race. If we get a weird caution, or maybe we see a 4th stop later in the race, Biffle would not be able to choose to pit a 5th time if we see a bunch of cautions late. So that's kind of the situation we're in. So it's actually a good thing that we have stayed green as long as we have today. Let this race play out on the full fuel run before everybody pits. Because by not short pitting, that's maximizing the usage of these tires with the limited set. Quarter of a tank of gas left for Biffle. Lap 113 to the line, this time by. Still trying to get underneath the car he is battling with currently, and really has to be holding him up. Jason Keller in the 22 car has been in hot pursuit behind the 60 since coming out of the pits as well. Another car coming out of the pit lane up ahead, that would be Billy Parker. Our lap cars still making their way in for their second stops of the day. The official actually told that to Jeff Burton? That's illegal. Officials can't advise teams on strategy. You're talking about the last lap of the segment, though, where I know what, I can't remember what year that is, but I remember it happening. He pitted on the last lap of the segment when they had to make a mandatory pit stop. It wasn't illegal, so there was a loophole in the system, so he got the restart from the lead because the caution came out and he was scored the leader when he pitted because pit road wasn't closed. See, now it would close with 2 laps to go in the stage or before the competition caution, so you wouldn't be able to do that even in an all-star race. Biffle's really been hurt with some dirty air. He's taking over the lead. It doesn't help that these guys are on fresh tires in front of him, so he can't really build up enough of a run to get around him. Just kind of having to sit and wait. The good news is he's able to get more laps led because he hasn't led a lot of laps tonight. So just to lead these 17 extra laps before he pits from the time everybody else had pit is a bonus. Dwayne Borland far and away has led the most. Biffle's trying to close as much as he can on that total in the second half of this race so he could try to go for another max points day. He's led the most laps in each of the first 2 races this year as well as winning. Let's see if he can go 3 for 3 in most laps led as well as potentially winning another race. He doesn't have as many Cup Series regulars to fight through in this one. I don't know if Biffle's got the fastest car, though. I think Dwayne Borland has the fastest car tonight. Biffle didn't have the fastest car in the shootout last night. It was Jimmy Johnson, who led 55 of the 70 laps, and Johnson went on to win, surviving the big one on the final lap, making it back to the checker first. Biffle tried to get to the inside of the 112, but you can really see the acceleration by the 112 on those fresher tires staying in front of Biffle. Races at Atlanta are better than... Well, that's because Atlanta... Like, even old Atlanta, old meaning like the older surface at Atlanta, the bumpier surface, created for far better racing because the drivers were just slipping and sliding around. There wasn't that much grip. But the current reconfiguration of Texas is just... There's so much grip because it's a newer surface. But then because they took the banking out of turns 1 and 2, there isn't even a... There's just nowhere you can pass in turns 1 and 2. And by the time you finally build the momentum up in the old 3 and 4 to try to make the dive bomb move into 1, it's so flat everybody's fighting for the same line. So if you're not already on the inside, you're never going to have a chance. And you can't get to the inside with the 550 package because of the dirty air. So it was just like it was a terrible situation. I think it'll make Texas a little bit better than what the 550 package was for Texas, but you're still going to have the same issues in turns 1 and 2. Best thing for Greg Biffle right now is if we end up seeing a caution. And the only reason I say that is because he has a 1-lap lead on the field. Lap 125 at the line. Fuel tank almost empty for the Biff. He may go to lap 127, I think is going to be the call, and then he'll pit at lap 127. So it'll be a lap further on fuel in the second run compared to what he was able to go in the first run. PJ1 killed IndyCar at Texas, but I don't think it killed the stock car racing at Texas. Stock car racing was honestly just as bad. I'd say pretty much equally as bad as what it was without the PJ1. I don't think the PJ1 made any difference. Because now in turns 1 and 2, nobody wants to run the bottom because there's so much more grip on the outside than what there is the inside. Before, it was the inside line that had the most grip, so everybody was fighting for the bottom. Now the outside's got so much more grip than the bottom, everybody just fights for the top. And then IndyCar, they can't even run the PJ1 without spinning out because of the compound in the tires. They're not even using nowhere near the same tires. Biffle will pit this time, lap 127. So again, he goes 64 laps on this run. He went 63 laps on the opening run on fuel. So 4 tires and fuel for the 60 of Biffle, locking the tires up into the pits he goes, making sure he wasn't going to speed. No adjustments to the 60 team's race car once again. So they didn't make any adjustments during the first stop either. I do agree, though, that it would slowly fix the issue, especially with the IndyCar series. It would probably take a couple years for it fully comes off the racetrack, though. And I have that fear for any racetrack with the PJ1. Slash resin. I think the 60 team of Greg Biffle had another ridiculously fast stop, considering that he was 17 laps longer on tires. And he still comes out in second place right where he came into the pits. Bobby Hamilton Jr. is going to be the leader. He was in third and actually pitted 1 lap after Dwayne Borland, who was leading. So Borland, who was leading, cycles back to third. Biffle was second, still cycles in second. Bobby Hamilton was in third, cycled to first. And Ron Hornaday looks as if he's in fourth place. He was in fourth when the pit stop started as well. I do think that the resin is better than the PJ1, but I still don't like the idea of artificially enhancing racetracks. I'm hoping that they were only doing that because of the rules package and it was a temporary thing. I'm really hoping with the next gen car they don't have resin or PJ1. If the next gen car is supposed to fix the actual racing product itself, there should be no need for traction compound or PJ1. Is that agreeable down in the chat, or do you guys disagree with me? I mean, what would be the point of having it still? Or what's the point of having the next gen car if it was supposed to, you know, as far as the on-track product goes? Like, it still cuts costs and everything, but as far as the on-track product goes, if it's supposed to be better racing, then why do we still need traction compound or PJ1? And if you're saying that the tracks aren't good enough, so that's why they have the PJ1, it's not the cars, then why are you racing at the racetracks? If the tracks are that bad, if you're willing to admit that the tracks are that bad, why are you still racing? Why are we still racing at Texas? If they still have PJ1 resin at Texas, why are we still racing there? Especially because they don't even get the fan attendance. You don't get the fan attendance. The TV ratings aren't really up or down when it comes to that race. I mean, it's just, it's like a normal NASCAR race, usually, when it comes to ratings. So the ratings aren't, you know, better. Fans aren't wanting to go to the races. People don't want to watch the races on TV. The drivers have outspoken and they've said they don't even like the track. Like, nobody likes the track. The fans, the drivers, even NASCAR, if NASCAR's silently saying they don't like the track if they end up having PJ1 resin on it again. So if the next gen doesn't fix it, nothing will. In NASCAR's mind. So why race there? The only saving grace would be if they actually had a lot of fans that would attend the race. Which was my only argument for them that they shouldn't have dropped Kentucky, was because they were still pulling in a lot of fans. But I mean, even Kentucky pulled in, for the number of seating that they had at least, they pulled in near max capacity. Texas is nowhere close. And Texas is downgraded in grandstands finally this year, but aren't they only taking out like a third? Place seats over 100,000. You take out a third, it's still sitting over 60,000. I mean, they look to have like 30, 35, 40,000 at the last. Like, it's still only going to be about half full, even if you downsize it a third. Not worth it. Hashtag get rid of Texas. No more Texas. If IndyCar wants a mile and a half to go to, there's plenty other great mile and a half racetracks they can go to. They can go back to Homestead. They can go. I'm sure they can put on a good show at Kansas. I think Kansas would probably be a great track for them. Go to Michigan. I'm all in for Michigan. I think a lot of people would agree with Michigan. Biffle battling Bobby Hamilton Jr. for the lead. Hamilton trying to squeeze Biffle. Hamilton leads that lap at the line. Biffle on the inside into turn one. But he had to enter so flat that he couldn't hold the corner, and Hamilton holds clear. Yeah, no PJ1 at Gateway, please. I will be there in person, too. Please, no PJ1. Please. Gateway's a fine... I mean, we don't even know how the Cup cars would race there yet, so I don't even know why they would even attempt to enhance the track if they haven't even raced there once. That wouldn't make any sense at all. Chicago, yeah. Put Chicagoland on the IndyCar schedule. If NASCAR won't. I mean, Chicagoland had some great races with IndyCar too. I was just thinking of tracks that were actually still holding racing. That's the only reason I didn't say Chicagoland. I was mentioning Great Mile and Halves. Well, I'd say no on Atlanta with the reconfiguration of it. The speeds are going to be way too high for IndyCar, I feel like, on that banked of an oval. Bobby Hamilton squeezing Greg Biffle. Can Biffle get to the lead in turn 4? No contact that time around. That's going to help Biffle out. Oh, contact off the exit of the corner, though. But Biffle is clear. And for the third different time, Greg Biffle leads at Nazareth. Oh, I was looking at the chat too much there. Brian Zantop, welcome to the stream. Biffle and Hamilton is in 2005. 2004, but yes. You were close. Windows open to make it on fuel to the end of the race, so we have some drivers making their third and final stop. As we run. Hamilton's still keeping the pressure on Biffle. You can bet Biffle's going to try to throw some big blocks like Hamilton was. It's so hard to pass here. Again, Biffle was behind Hamilton for about 16 laps before he was finally able to make the pass on him. Yeah, I mean, it's NASCAR 05, but it's the game takes place in the 2004 season. IndyCar also puts great races on at Gateway, yes. Oh, contact. That's exactly how Hamilton squeezed Biffle. Biffle does the same to Bobby Hamilton now. Hamilton overdrives turn 1. Barely kept it off the outside wall. Lost about a car length or so. Biffle gonna pull him just a bit in turn 2. Yeah, I think Kansas would be a great track for IndyCar. We haven't alternated through the different camera angles yet in tonight's race, so we'll do that now. As Biffle works his way back to the start-finish line. Dwayne Borland no longer in the top 3. I wonder if he may have pitted when the fuel window opened. which would be very interesting because he may cycle back to the lead. He had the fastest car in the first half of the race, but we haven't seen him lead many laps in the second half. 50 laps to go at Nazareth. Who will win our third race of the custom schedule season Busch Series season on NASCAR Chase for the Cup 2005? Two more lap cars in front of Biffle. One of them is the 112. That's who Biffle struggled to pass back before his most recent green flag pit stop. Oh, jeez. That's the second time I've kind of chopped off the crash just a tad because I was looking at the chat. Not your guys' fault, that's all mine. One of these times Biffle's gonna lose the lead because of it. Ron Hornaday is sitting in third. He's been sitting behind Bobby Hamilton for a little bit now. Hasn't been able to make the pass on him yet, though. Not to mention, remember, we are still caution-free. Will we remain caution-free to the end of the race? As I say something, there's a little contact between Biffle and the lap car in the 106. Biffle getting blocked by the 106 car now. Dives underneath in turn 4. Speaking of diving underneath, Ron Hornaday will take over second place from Bobby Hamilton Jr. At least they're still side by side for second, but Hamilton is stuck on the outside behind the lap car. Hornaday using him as a pick. Biffle clears the lap car in the 106 finally off the exit of turn 2. Heading into turn 3, and it is Ron Hornaday in second. He has not led yet in this race. We'll see if he can work his way around Greg Biffle to lead his first lap and get himself 5 bonus points. Sam Monty, a NASCAR fan, welcome to the stream. Halfway on fuel for Biffle, 40 to go this time by. He went 63 laps on the first run, 64 on the second run. But he would have to go 73 on this final run to make it to the end of this race, so he is sitting probably about 10 laps short. He goes as far as he did on the first run, and probably about 9 laps short if he could go as far as he did on the last run. But either way, he is still well short on fuel. But who knows, maybe we see our first caution of the race, and boy, that would be interesting because that would bunch this field up tightly for really the first time from at least front to back, since of course the initial start. Now it's still been pretty competitive. The top 3 to 4 cars have kind of drifted apart from each other, then they'll close back in on one another again, and nobody's really had a far and away faster car. Dwayne Borland definitely had the fastest car in the first half of the race, but he wasn't really blowing the doors off of everybody either. The same has gone for Biffle in the second half of the race. Biffle hasn't made any adjustment changes either, so maybe Borland went in the wrong direction with his adjustments, assuming he made any. Santiago Kid, welcome to the stream. Biffle looks low into turn 4. He's underneath the 112. It's hard to tell which one of these lap cars have fresh tires and who doesn't as well. Into turn 1, Biffle uses the curbing, stays inside of the 112. Oh, we dove into turn 2 a bit too quick. A little bit of a run on the outside by the 112. Hornaday stays tightly behind Biffle on the inside. He'll now get to the inside of the 112 car. So we continue to click on. 36 laps to go now at Nazareth. Place in Alaska, negative 91 degree Fahrenheit wind chill. What, like recently, or is that like an all-time record? And I believe Ron Hornaday just came into the pits from second place that last lap, 35 to go. So this is interesting because you risk staying out and potentially losing the lead with pitting so late in the race if you're Greg Biffle. But if you pit and we get a caution, you're going to get trapped a lap down. So it's kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. And he's going to have to figure out which decision he's going to make, and I believe Ron Hornaday just pit. Well, he pit 2 laps ago, but then Bobby Hamilton Jr. just pit that last lap. Again, we know Biffle could go anywhere between 9 to 10 laps to go before he makes his stop, so he stayed out this long already, especially compared to Dwayne Borland. I think you just got to stay out as far as you can at this point, then probably just go right sides only under the final stop, potentially even fuel only. And just hope that a caution doesn't come out. We don't get a restart after that, because that would be the absolute worst case scenario. Contact with Mike Bliss in the 20. Biffle sideways. Well, that didn't help him at all. Oh yeah, I always wear earplugs at NASCAR races. I've gone without earplugs on a couple occasions, not willingly, just because I couldn't get my earplugs in time. Martinsville was the only cup race I've done it for. That's because the hot dog line, we were in the hot dog line for 2 hours. I barely got back to my seats before the race started. I didn't have time. You would think 2 hours is plenty of time to get your hot dog, get your earplugs, and get to the stands. No, that hot dog line was 2 hours long. It was worth it, but I didn't want to miss any of the race, so I just went without earplugs. I mean, I even missed the flyover in the national anthem. That's how close I was to missing the race. I was in line for hot dogs. The good old Martinsville dogs. 30 laps to go. It's a must-have if you ever go to Martinsville, by the way. Same thing with the tenderloins at Indianapolis. Got to get that pork tenderloin if you go to the Indy 500 and or the NASCAR race. $29 to go. Now, Biffle's not the last car on the lead lap that's still out on the racetrack, so that's why he is definitely going to have to stay out and not risk going a lap down. He does have about a 15-second lead, but the track is short enough with the lap times under 30 seconds that he would still probably go a lap down. more contact. The 86 car now.
That was a big block by Biffle. Luckily, he was clear into turn 1. Sorry, turn 4, rather. It was a lap car that just came out of the pit lane who was on the inside. And I was wondering if he was going to be able to get up to speed in time before Biffle could get down. Luckily, he didn't. And Biffle had the clearance. 11 likes on the stream. Like, share, and subscribe again for more daily NASCAR content. We're in the closing laps at Nazareth for this Busch Series custom schedule season race. Greg Biffle still has to make his final pit stop, likely gonna just be fuel only. Best case scenario, we get a caution between now and him making his stop and he traps the field a lap down, then he can take 4 tires. But if he has to pit under green, he's going fuel only because staying out this much longer than everybody else, I can't imagine he's gonna be able to take the lead and only having 9 to 10 laps to go when he comes out of the pits. It's just likely not going to be enough time. I mean, it's taking him 15, 16 plus laps to pass the leader every time he's gotten to second place behind them after one of these pit stops. Finally works around Mike Bliss. He's been sitting behind him for a while and he was a lap down. I mean, the track has, you can consider it has 5. It's almost like how like a tri-oval you could consider has 5. That little kink right there would be the 5th turn if there was 5. But it's full throttle through it. Like that would be turn 1. This would technically probably be turns 2 and 3. And then turn 4 would be this next corner. This would be turn 4. Then you could consider this turn 5 right here. I'm a burger guy. I just feel like you don't get much bang for your buck with most nachos. Like if you can get like pulled pork and get like massively loaded nachos, then I would go nachos, but if it's just cheese, salsa, nah, it's not good enough for me. Give me the burger. This is our only trip to Nazareth on this custom schedule Busch Series season. We will not be running here in the Cup Series. They actually didn't even run here in the Truck Series. So, any of the top 3 series in NASCAR, this is the only one we go to, as far as Nazareth goes, the only race at Nazareth. We did run here twice in the modified series schedule. 20 laps to go this time by, and that last time by at the start-finish line, Greg Biffle has just clinched the most laps led. So in the first 3 races this season, Greg Biffle has led the most laps. A little bit of a pit strategy race today, considering that the last stop for Biffle will be fuel only. Everybody else, you would have to think, took tires and how many laps they had left when they pitted. We're in a little bit different circumstance. Biffle's been stretching each run out. So this last one's only going to be 9 to 10 laps. It's just not going to be worth it. He's going to have to make sure he does not lock the tires up when he comes into the pits. And the left sides will plenty be good. He's just hoping that the right sides aren't going to have too much on them. So again, has to make sure he doesn't lock the tires. 19 to go at the line. Saw the lap cars making some contact further up ahead. You talking about my race at Daytona this Sunday, or you talking about the 500? The 500 is not this Sunday, it's the following Sunday. But the Daytona 500 right here on NASCAR 05 will be this Sunday. And if it's anything like how that Budweiser Shootout last night ended, again, go check it out if you missed it. I might even put that on my Instagram if I remember tonight, or find a way to clip that final lap, because that was insane. We had the big one on the final lap of the Truck Series, but it wasn't quite like that. The big one took out everybody from second on back. This one, it was... The leader flipped, and... I mean, almost everybody in the top 5 spun out, and Jimmy Johnson ends up going to victory lane. A wild and wacky turn of events. I'm not a big fan of jalapenos. I'm not huge on spicy things. Like, outside of, like, spicier wings from Buffalo Wild Wings, I really don't eat anything spicy at all. Not a big pepper fan. Yeah, Daytona 500's on the 20th. 12 more days. As you see on the bottom left-hand corner of the screen. Our road to Daytona. 14 laps to go at the line for Greg Biffle. These lap cars in front of him have been holding him up. They have been racing each other. They've been making contact with one another. Biffle going to try to make the pass 3 wide off the exit of turn 3. As they head into 4. Still 3 wide. This is going to be interesting. Biffle hits his marks perfectly in the bottom. Hugs the curbing. Clears them both. That's really the first time we've seen 3 wide into a corner at Nazareth all day long. There's a reason for that. Again, luckily they made it through all right that time. $12 to go at the line. Greg Biffle still out on the racetrack. So he'll be making his final stop very, very soon. He should, you would think, cycle in the lead taking fuel only. Unless there were other drivers that did so. And we'll just have to wait and see. Again, the big thing is if we get a caution after he pits, because then he's going to be stuck on old tires trying to defend and hold everybody else off to the finish. Biffle not even going to risk it. He's going to pit this time by. Doesn't want to go another lap just out of safety precautions, so that way he knows he can make it on fuel to the end. Onto the access road. And again, has to make sure he does not lock the tires up. Enters the pits. Great job not locking them up. Fuel only stop. Not even a full tank either. It's going to be a quarter tank of gas, a little splash and go for Greg Biffle and the 60 team. They will not be here long. And hopefully no mistakes. No mistakes. Clean, gas and go, splash and go, only stop. And Greg Biffle will easily have the lead with it. 9.5 seconds, 9 laps to go at the line for Greg Biffle. A lot of lap traffic in front of him, but they're probably going to be faster on fresher tires anyway. So hold Billy Parker back into turns 2 and 3. Biffle already lost a half a second and about a half a lap. They are definitely quicker. Quarter tank of gas left. Biffle probably could have went one more lap, but he didn't feel like it was worth the risk. He's just going to let Billy Parker go. No sense of racing Parker. Turns 3 and 4. Parker will clear Biffle off of turn 3. The race could end under caution, so if we get Probably 3 to 4 to go, and we see a yellow. I think that's going to end the race. We'll go back to the far chase cam for the rest of the race when we get back to the start-finish line this time around. I'm more of a blue cheese fan when it comes to wings. Ranch is good, but I like blue cheese. Yeah, I'll stay away from habaneros. 6 to go. 8 seconds. Biffle on old tires. Fuel only looks to be the winner. There is no way he would have been able to take 4 tires and come out with the lead. He was only 9.5 seconds ahead, and he didn't even take any tires, and all he took was a quarter tank of gas. There was no sense of topping off when he only had to go 9 laps when he came out of the pits. He knew a quarter tank was going to be plenty good on the shorter length racetrack. Not like it was a super speedway. Super speedway, I probably would have taken half tank just to be safe. Four to go. This looks like this race may go caution-free. Our first one of the Busch Series season. All 200 laps at Nazareth. Three to go. We're definitely in the range now. We see a caution. The race will come to an end. There's no way that there will be a restart now that we have 3 laps left. Usually the cautions take about 3 laps. But no cautions come out on the final lap. Both front tires in the yellow right now for Greg Biffle on the tire wear, but none in the red as he comes to 2 laps to go at the line. He let Billy Parker by him. He's kind of stayed right behind him the whole time, but he's not going to look to pass at all. No need to. Biffle's raced this race pretty smart from start to finish. And he will go from the rear to the front. And he will go 3 for 3 to start this Busch Series season. When will Biffle lose a points-paying race in either the Cup Series or the Busch Series? Because right now he is on an absolute tear. I will say Talladega is coming up in 2 races in the Busch Series. That could be the first, or the next big test, I guess. That'll be race 5 of the season. We are on the final lap. And just one more corner to go after the conclusion of this corner. Off turn 3, down the backstretch, Greg Biffle will go 3 for 3, not only wins, but he will also lead the most laps in each of the first 3 races. A dream start to the 2004 custom scheduled Busch Series season. Greg Biffle is a winner at Nazareth. Biffle trying to go for his 2nd career championship in the Busch Series this season, and a season-long points format. Boy, he is off to an absolute tear. I wonder if we can lead wire to wire in a season. That's one thing I don't think I've ever done in any NASCAR game on the channel. There's a first for everything. I think we can definitely get it done. Has anybody noticed also the seats at Nazareth in this game? There's like barely any fans. Look at all the empty seats. There's like a sparse of fans on the front stretch right here, right at the start-finish line. And there's nobody. Like, usually in video games, they make it, like, packed crowd, 100% full. I don't know why they didn't do that at Nazareth in this game. It's, like, less than 50%. I know it's a Busch Series standalone event, but still, they usually pack it in the games. Oh, well. Greg Biffle, though, will get the win. 1 hour, 33 minutes total time to finish this 200-lap race caution-free. So that means the average speed was 127.96 miles an hour. 10 lead changes in this race. Again, a lot of them were in the first half of the race, but it got really spaced out after the second of 3 pit stops. And that's where Biffle was able to really charge on and lead over half the race. 104 of the 200 laps led for him tonight. Bobby Hamilton Jr. led quite a few himself, 37 laps.
finishing second. Kyle Busch finished third. Ron Hornaday fourth. Kenny Wallace rounds out the top 5. Dwayne Borland led 59 laps, mostly towards the start of the race, but he finished in 6th. David Stremme finished in 7th. Tim Fedewa 8th. Blue Castleberry 9th, and Ashton Lewis will round out the top 10. And we only had 12 drivers finish on the lead lap. There were 11 on the lead lap, but Biffle gave Parker his lap back late to just out of the willingness of his heart, I guess. He didn't want to race at all with any of the lap traffic as much as he could on those old tires with an unstable race car at the end. But only 2 DNFs. Campbell and Mathers are the only 2 drivers that failed to finish this race, both in the first 42 laps. They had blown an engine. 7.2 second margin of victory. Like, share, and subscribe for more daily NASCAR content. I will see you guys again tomorrow night on the channel. And I believe it will be more NASCAR Busch Series action on NASCAR Chase for the Cup 2005. Let me check the streaming schedule just to clarify, of course. I don't expect any major emails regarding the channel news tomorrow, so we will start at 6. Again, you can go back to the beginning of the stream for the announcement that I had. I'll probably end up prefacing it again probably tomorrow night as well. But tomorrow night, we will be at Rockingham for race 4 of 31 of the custom schedule season for the Busch Series. So going to the Rock, another track that is no longer in the sport of NASCAR. So 2 back-to-back, I guess, historic tracks in a sense on the early going portion of this season. So 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tomorrow, 197 lapper at Rockingham, the Rock tomorrow, and should be a fun one. That's a fun racetrack. Thank you, everybody. I will see you guys tomorrow night. Have a good one.